I'm gonna break down, you know, the biggest points I took away from everybody's take. Um, but first off, let me start by saying this. I wish I can come on to this podcast for once and not have to say something bad about my team that I like, not have to say something reflective when they come up short in a game that they had a chance to win. Especially for the last year now, I've watched my Eagles lose the Super Bowl, Flyers be bad, the Phillies lose the World Series, the Sixers almost make it out of the second round. Hell, even the Union decided to, I wanted to just feel just a small taste of victory with the Philadelphia team, and we didn't do that. Hell, even in the USFL with the Philadelphia Stars, they lost in the championship game. It's been a rough year, and this past Sunday was the 10th anniversary of Sam Hinkie being hired as the general manager for the Sixers, where the famous or infamous quote, trust the process, was born. And here we are, 10 years later, talking about trust the process, where a lot of people are going to see the process as a failure now. And it starts with Joel Embiid, guy who won the MVP this season, guy who I still think is a top three big in this league, the guy who earned that MVP trophy. I will stand by that until the day I die. He earned it. You don't win MVP by just being a dude in the running. You have to do something right. Joel Embiid did something right. And this dude's luck is so horrible because year in and year out, he's constantly getting hurt off of injuries that are no fault of his own. Sprained LCL is not something that an average player comes back in, especially if it's grade two in 2 weeks. All right. Um, but this past Sunday was Mother's Day. You know, I hope y'all know. I hope y'all celebrate with your moms. I celebrated with my mom. I celebrated with my grandmom. And I took them out to eat this fancy brunch at this fancy restaurant. Hell, I even took them to a casino. All right. So for that entire first half, I could not even, I was watching the game, but I was still with family. I was eager to get back to my house so I can watch the Sixers do something to exercise a 20-year demon, to finally hear this organization of this allegation of never making out of the second round. And you know what you did to me, Philadelphia? You know what you did to me? Joel Embiid, James Harden, Doc Rivers. You took my heart and you quite literally tore it in half. I was with my mom and my grandma for most of that day, man. I was still watching the game because I believed in this team. I believed in the process. I believed that this team had what it takes, and you come out and you shit the bed, essentially ignoring my family for you, giving up my time, putting so much sweat and blood and tears and arguments into this team for you guys to just come out and quit, get little brothered by Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics. Do you realize what that does to a man? You realize what that does to a Philadelphia fan? A hardcore Philadelphia fan like me who has watched so much pain and misery over the last year. And you guys come out after still being in the game at halftime. You're only down by three. It was a 3-point lead at halftime. And you come out and you only post 10 points in the third quarter of a winner take all game to get you to the Eastern Conference Finals. And The worst part is now I have to spend my entire summer, spend half of my fall defending you still, at least defending one of you. I'm talking to you, Joel. You're my guy. You're my king. That's my favorite player. Everybody knows I will go to war for that man. I will die for Joel Embiid. But dude, you can't come out in the biggest game of your entire life and only have 15 points on 5 of 18 shooting. Get locked down by 36-year-old Al Horford, who I know that you can outmaneuver and outpower. We've seen it before. Outside of game 2 and game 7, you posted at least 30 in this series. You didn't play game 1. I had a suspicion after game 6 when we didn't close it out. Because I'm going to start breaking down the biggest takes I took away from everybody's take here. Tolu keeps talking about how Joel was taking essentially no credibility, no accountability, rather, for the loss. I will say this one time and one time only. That quote was completely taken out of context. Joel Embiid took all accountability, as a matter of fact, for that loss. All right. That response, that quote that keeps flowing around, was in response to the entire team, which Joel and James aren't the entire team. So he's not wrong in what he said. The only difference is that he is also a part of the team and he still played like us. The real quote from Joel Embiid is what I'm going to read right here. And this is a quote that should be flowing around from everybody. And I quote, "If I don't finish first, it's a failure. I don't think I would have been proud of myself going to the finals and losing. I freaking hate losing. If you want to call me the best player on the team, every loss and failure should be on me. It's all on me. I will be better." End quote. That's what Joel Embiid said. That's taking accountability for essentially coming out and performing, uh, having your worst playoff game as a pro. Only problem was that it's in the biggest game of his career. So that's number one. Number two, I do kind of agree with what TK said. That loss was not nearly as half on Doc as it was on our star players. All right, Doc is going to take the fall for this because now Daryl Morey has a decision to make between either keeping Doc Rivers or keeping James Harden. I think we all know who's going to stay in Philadelphia. I'm indifferent about James Harden at this point. If he stays, he stays. If he goes, oh well. I'm not losing sleep over it. So, Doc, I hate this how you have to go, man. But if there's ever going to be time for change with the Philadelphia 76ers, it starts with the man who is leading the charge, who is coaching this team year in and year out, and that's you, Doc. Your track record doesn't help you either. And finally, Johnny said something about not having the mental toughness to win this game this past Sunday. This is the mentally toughest team that I've seen ever since I've been a Sixers fan. I want to make that perfectly clear. This team was mentally tough. This team had to sit through a month without James Harden. It had to sit through a month without Tyrese Maxey. It had to go to Brooklyn and sweep them one game without their star player. They had to crawl themselves out of the trenches of their own home court just to beat Boston Celtics at home in game 4 with some heroics from James Harden, which is why it's so flabbergasting you to go for 42-9. But that's not the point. This team was mentally tough as steel. Tough as steel. There comes a point where you don't have to be mentally tough to win a game. All you have to do is hit your shots. The Sixers did not hit their shots at the end of game 6. They did not hit their shots. At least Harden and Embiid didn't. for the entire game 7. And the team, especially as a whole, did not hit their shots in that third quarter when they only posted 10 freaking points. Can't happen. This is the pattern. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we have to deal with year in and year out from a team like the Philadelphia 76ers. I feel like I'm going insane talking about the same thing every single year with this team. A few years back, the Hawks, it was only Embiid and Curry that decided to show up. A few years back, it was the Kawhi shot, luckiest shot in the world. In the bubble, Simmons couldn't play. Then it was Simmons that passed up the shot in Game 7 against the Hawks. We've had multiple chances in and year out. I had to come on to this podcast and say and try to defend why we lost. And I just can't do it this year. Can't. Star players came out and they played horrible. Our coach gone next year. Role players that are on this team probably gone next year. And that is the silver lining I'm taking away from this. Maybe there's finally going to be some significant change that will finally help this organization defeat this demon that has been plaguing them for the last 20 years now. Finally get out of the second round. You could still win with a guy like Joel Embiid, all right? I don't want to hear what anybody has to say. This guy has still been the MVP of the league. He's been the MVP running for the last 3 years now. He's a guy that you can win a title with. James Harden, if it was up to me, I would have Maxey take control of the entire offense because he's still young and we've seen his potential. Every cloud has its silver lining, man. And, maybe this is finally the start of something new, something different with the Philadelphia 76ers because something's got to change. But I'm not going to come on here and defend this team. I can't anymore. All right. The most valiant guy, the guy that defended Ben Simmons for 4 years. I can't do it anymore. I'm tired. Philadelphia, I'm tired. And there's nothing that I could say to change anybody's minds on this podcast. There's something I could say that'll change anybody's mind, about the team right now, about Joel Embiid, about James Harden, about the organization as a whole. Nothing will convince anybody right now that the narrative about this team. The narrative about this team right now is that we are nothing more than some playoff jokers. It's the brutal truth. I'm tired, man. I'm just tired.